Have you ever wondered why some people seem to get exactly what they want from life? Effortlessly, confidently, and without fear, while others struggle in silence, waiting for opportunities that never come. The truth is simple yet powerful. You don't get what you deserve, you get what you ask for. Most people are afraid to ask. Afraid of rejection, afraid of judgment, afraid of appearing needy. But here's the secret. Asking is not weakness, it's wisdom. Every successful person, every breakthrough moment, every opportunity that changed someone's life started with one simple act of asking. Think about it. You asked to learn as a child, you asked for help when you were lost, you asked for love, for friendship, for a chance. The world responds not to silence, but to clarity. When you ask with intention, you set in motion the law of possibility. The art of asking is more than words. It's mindset, confidence, and clarity wrapped together. You must know what you want, believe you deserve it, and communicate it with courage. Whether it's asking for a raise, a favor, a chance, or even forgiveness. You're not taking from the world. You're opening a door that was meant for you all along. Remember this, the universe doesn't reward hesitation. Closed mouths don't get fed. Ask with confidence, not apology. Ask with vision, not fear. The people who get ahead in life are not always the smartest. They're the ones who dare to ask when others stay silent. So today, practice the art of asking. Ask yourself what you really want in your career, relationships, and life. Then ask out loud. Be bold, be humble, and be persistent. The power to receive begins the moment you decide to ask. Have you ever noticed how some people seem to effortlessly attract help, opportunities, and success, while others, even those who work just as hard, seem to be invisible to the world? It's not luck, and it's not fate. The difference lies in one profound truth. They ask for what they want. Asking is not a sign of weakness. It's a display of confidence, courage, and self-belief. It's a declaration to the universe that you are ready to receive what you've been preparing for all along. From the moment we're born, asking is our first act of communication. A baby cries, asking for attention, food, or comfort. As children, we ask endless questions, trying to understand the world. But somewhere along the way, we're told to stop. We're taught that asking makes us needy, dependent, or even annoying. So we grow silent, we suppress our curiosity, we stop reaching out, and in doing so, we lose one of the greatest powers we were ever given. The power to ask. Think about this. Every innovation, every invention, every dream realized began with an ask. Someone asked, "What if?" Someone asked, "Why not?" Someone asked for help, guidance, or a chance, and the world responded. Asking is not begging, it's bridging. It connects your inner desire with outer opportunity. It's how dreams cross over from thought into reality. But here's the problem. Most people never ask because they fear rejection. They think, what if they say no? So they don't ask at all. But the truth is, you've already lost if you never ask. Every unspoken request is a silent surrender. Every time you hold back, you close a door that might have opened. The fear of rejection has stopped more dreams than failure ever did. The world doesn't punish those who ask. It rewards those who dare. Let me tell you this: when you ask, you're not imposing, you're inviting. You're giving someone the opportunity to contribute, to share, to connect. People often want to help. They just need to know what you need, but they can't read your mind. They can't act on your silence. Your courage to ask gives others permission to respond. And sometimes that single act of asking can alter the entire course of your life. Imagine standing at the edge of your dream. Maybe it's a new job, a promotion, a collaboration, or even forgiveness. The only thing between you and that next chapter is a few words, a simple ask. Most people wait for the perfect moment, but perfection never comes. The brave ones step forward and speak up, not because they're fearless, but because they've learned that asking is the key that unlocks closed doors. There's a secret that successful people understand. They ask, and they keep asking. They don't see rejection as a stop sign. They see it as redirection. They know that no is not the end. It's simply the beginning of negotiation, learning, and growth. Every great entrepreneur, leader, or artist has faced countless no's before hearing that one life-changing yes. But they asked anyway. They dared to make their voice heard. Asking is not just about words, it's about energy. The energy of certainty. When you ask from a place of fear, you sound uncertain, and uncertainty repels opportunity. But when you ask from a place of confidence, conviction, and clarity, the world listens. People respond to certainty. When your tone, posture, and purpose align, your ask becomes irresistible. You don't just communicate, you connect. And here's something powerful. Asking doesn't diminish you. It expands you. It forces you to define what you want, to organize your thoughts, and to take ownership of your goals. Every time you ask, you practice vulnerability, and vulnerability is strength disguised as honesty. The moment you ask, you step into authenticity. You say, "This is who I am, this is what I seek, and I believe I'm worthy of it." That is power. Too many people stay silent because they tell themselves they'll figure it out alone. But independence is not isolation. The most independent people in the world are not those who do everything themselves. They're the ones who know how to ask for help when it matters most. Asking connects you to others' knowledge, experience, and wisdom. It multiplies your resources, your reach, and your results. So, the next time you hesitate before asking, remind yourself. You're not taking something from the world, you're co-creating with it. Every ask plants a seed. Maybe not every seed will grow, but the more you plant, the greater your harvest will be. If you want to transform your life, your business, or your relationships, start asking more. Ask with respect, ask with gratitude, ask with purpose. But ask because the world doesn't respond to silence. It responds to certainty. It responds to courage. It responds to those who dare to speak their desires out loud. And remember, those who ask boldly live fully. Those who stay silent stay stuck. You don't get what you deserve. You get what you ask for. It's one of life's most uncomfortable, yet liberating truths. Many people believe that hard work alone guarantees success, that effort will naturally attract reward. But the world doesn't operate on fairness. It operates on clarity, courage, and communication. You can be brilliant, talented, and dedicated, but if you never ask for what you want, you'll always be waiting for someone else to notice your worth. And the truth is, they rarely do. Think about it. How many times have you gone above and beyond, hoping someone would recognize your effort, give you that promotion, or reward your loyalty, only to be overlooked? It's not because you didn't deserve it. It's because you never asked. The world doesn't read minds. People are too focused on their own goals to notice yours unless you make them clear. Asking isn't about arrogance. It's about ownership. It's taking responsibility for what you want and refusing to stay invisible. Here's the uncomfortable reality. Deserving something and receiving it are two completely different things. The world is full of people who deserve success, love, and happiness, but never experience it. Not because they aren't worthy, but because they never claimed it. Life doesn't hand you your desires wrapped in a silver bow. It waits for you to reach out and take them. Asking is that reach. The moment when you stop waiting for permission and start creating your own opportunities. The act of asking does something powerful. It shifts your energy from hoping to owning. Hope says, I wish this would happen. Asking says, I'm ready for this to happen. That shift changes how you speak, how you think, and how others respond to you. People respect those who communicate clearly because clarity signals confidence. When you ask directly, without hesitation or apology, you're not begging, you're leading. You're showing that you value yourself enough to speak your truth. But fear often gets in the way. The fear of rejection, of judgment, of being seen as too demanding. That fear keeps most people silent, stuck in the background of their own story. They tell themselves, if I deserve it, it will come to me. But life doesn't reward quiet worthiness. It rewards bold action. The people who rise are the ones who ask. For opportunities, for feedback, for connection. They knock until the door opens. They don't wait for luck. They build their own through communication. Let's be real. Asking takes courage. It takes humility. It takes the willingness to hear no and still try again. But what's the alternative? Silence. Regret. Watching someone else take the opportunity you were too afraid to ask for. Every no you receive brings you one step closer to the yes that will change your life. And every time you ask, you train your mind to expect possibility instead of rejection. That shift in mindset is where transformation begins. The truth is, the universe mirrors your energy. If you act like you're not ready, it won't deliver. But when you stand tall, ask clearly, and move with conviction, you signal that you are open to receive. Think about the most successful people you admire. They all have one thing in common. They ask for what they want without apology. They ask for support, for resources, for opportunities, not because they feel entitled, but because they believe in their vision. They understand that asking is not taking, it's activating. Every ask is a message to the world. I know my value, and I'm ready to act on it. And when you start asking, something magical happens. People start seeing you differently. They see your confidence, your direction, your self-belief. They feel your energy. Opportunities start to appear, not because they suddenly exist, but because you've finally positioned yourself to receive them. Asking turns potential into motion. But remember, asking is an art. It's not about demanding or expecting. It's about aligning your request with purpose and value. When you ask for something, don't just think about what you're getting. Think about what you're offering. Every successful ask is built on mutual benefit. When people see that your request also helps them grow, build or win, they say yes willingly. That's how leaders ask. That's how visionaries negotiate. And yes, sometimes you'll be told no. But no isn't failure. It's feedback. It tells you where to adjust, refine, or try again. Every no builds resilience, strengthens your voice, and teaches you something vital about timing, tone, and trust. Over time, you stop fearing rejection because you realize it's not personal. It's progress. You learn that asking once opens the door a little, but asking again pushes it wide open. So, don't wait for life to reward your silence. Don't expect fairness from a world that listens only to those who speak. Start asking for opportunities, for growth, for clarity, for the life you know you're capable of living. Ask from a place of conviction, not desperation. Ask because you believe, not because you beg. The most powerful words you can ever speak are often the ones that start with, can we? Will you? Would it be possible if? Every major turning point in your life will begin with a single question you dared to ask. The promotion you earn, the dream you chase, the door you walk through. It all starts with that one moment of courage when you choose to use your voice, because at the end of the day, you don't get what you deserve. You get what you have the strength to ask for. Clarity creates confidence. It sounds simple, but it's one of the most powerful principles in life, and one that most people overlook. So many dreams remain dreams, not because they're impossible, but because the person dreaming them doesn't know what they truly want. They have a vague idea. I want success. I want happiness. I want more out of life. But what does that really mean? Without clarity, even your strongest effort will scatter like smoke in the wind. You can't hit a target you can't see. When you're clear about what you want, everything changes. You move differently. You speak differently. You decide differently. Clarity sharpens your vision and strengthens your voice. It transforms your hesitation into direction. When you know exactly what you're asking for, you no longer sound uncertain. You sound unstoppable. People are naturally drawn to those who know what they want because clarity is magnetic. It shows leadership. It inspires trust. But here's the truth. Most people are not confused because life is complicated. They're confused because they've never stopped long enough to ask themselves the right questions. What do I really want? Why do I want it? What will it take to get there? Without those answers, asking becomes weak and unfocused. You end up asking for everything and nothing at the same time, and when you're unclear, the world doesn't know how to respond. Clarity is power. When you can clearly articulate what you want, the universe aligns to support it. Think of it like tuning a radio. If your frequency is fuzzy, you only get noise. But once you tune it perfectly, the message comes through crystal clear. That's how clarity works. When your inner frequency matches your outer words, people feel your certainty. They hear your confidence. They believe in your direction because you believe in it. Let's be honest. Vague desires are safe. When you say, I just want to be successful, there's no risk of failure because there's no measurable goal. But clarity takes courage. It demands specificity. It forces you to define your path and commit to it. That's why so many people avoid it. Because the moment you define what you want, you also expose what you're afraid to pursue. But here's the secret. The fear you feel when you get specific is the sign that you're finally on the right path. When you're clear, you take back control. You stop reacting to life and start directing it. You stop waiting for things to work out, and you begin to make them work. You stop asking weak questions like, why me? And start asking powerful ones like, what now? and how do I move forward? That shift from confusion to clarity rewires your mindset. It replaces doubt with decision, fear with focus, hesitation with momentum. Clarity also changes the way you communicate. Imagine going into a meeting, a negotiation, or even a personal conversation, unsure of what you truly want. You stumble, you over-explain, you sound uncertain. People can sense it, but when you walk in with clear intent, your words carry weight. You don't need to convince. Your confidence does the work for you. You speak less, but say more. You don't chase approval, you command respect. And here's something few people realize. Clarity doesn't just create confidence, it creates calm. When you're clear, your mind stops running in circles. You no longer waste energy guessing yourself or comparing your path to others. You know what's yours, and you move toward it with quiet conviction. There's a peace that comes from knowing your direction, even if the journey ahead is uncertain. Because clarity doesn't mean you have all the answers. It means you trust yourself enough to find them. Clarity also reveals priorities. You begin to see what truly matters, and just as importantly, what doesn't. When you're unclear, everything feels urgent. You say yes to everything because you're afraid of missing out. But when you know your purpose, you can say no with strength. You no longer chase distractions disguised as opportunities. You stop scattering your energy across 100 directions and start channeling it into one. And that's when your results multiply. It's easy to think that the most successful people are simply more talented or lucky. But often, they're just more focused. They've mastered the art of clarity. They know exactly where they're going, and they ask for it boldly. They don't apologize for their vision. They articulate it clearly and confidently. The clearer you are about what you want, the easier it becomes for others to help you get there. People can't support a fog. They can only follow a light. So how do you create that clarity? You slow down, you reflect. You strip away the noise. You stop asking, "What do others expect from me?" and start asking, "What do I expect from myself?" You write down your goals until they stop sounding like dreams and start looking like directions. You visualize your next step until it feels real enough to act on. Because clarity doesn't come from thinking more, it comes from deciding more. When you ask for something with crystal clear intent, the world recognizes the conviction in your voice. It's the difference between saying, "I hope I can," and "I will." One word changes everything. Hope is passive, will is power. Hope waits, will acts. And the more you act with clarity, the more confidence you build. Confidence is not something you find. It's something you create, one clear decision at a time. Clarity is not perfection. You don't need to have every detail figured out before you move. You just need to know where you're going and why it matters. Life will fill in the rest. When your intention is clear, direction appears. When your vision is defined, action becomes natural. And once you move with clarity, your energy becomes undeniable. People start to sense that you're not wandering. You're walking with purpose. So stop waiting for confidence to appear before you act. Confidence is the result of clarity, not the other way around. Define what you want, own it, speak it, and take the first step. Because once you know where you're going, every action, no matter how small, moves you closer to it. Rejection is not the end of your story. It's the redirection that leads you to where you truly belong. Everyone fears rejection. It cuts deep. It stings. It makes you question your worth and your dreams. But here's the truth most people never realize. Rejection is not a wall meant to stop you. It's a compass meant to guide you. Every no you hear is simply the universe whispering, "Not this way, try again, try better, try elsewhere." When you ask for something, an opportunity, a chance, a connection, and you get turned down, it's easy to feel defeated. But pause and think about this. How many times in your life have you been grateful that something didn't work out? That job you didn't get, that relationship that ended, that door that closed. At the time, it felt like loss. But looking back, it was guidance. Life was never saying no to you. It was saying, "There's something better ahead, but you can't see it yet." Rejection tests you. It strips away the illusion that success should be easy or instant. It challenges you to grow stronger, sharper, and more focused. When you face rejection, you face a mirror. One that reflects both your weaknesses and your resilience. You learn what needs to be refined, what needs to be improved, and what deserves your continued pursuit. Without rejection, you'd never develop the persistence required to reach greatness. Most people let rejection define them. They take one no and turn it into a lifetime of silence. They convince themselves that they weren't good enough, smart enough, talented enough. But the truth is, rejection doesn't mean you're not enough. It simply means that this wasn't the right fit, the right time, or the right door. And that's okay, because sometimes the door you're knocking on isn't meant to open. Sometimes it's there to teach you how to knock louder, smarter, and with more conviction. There's a hidden gift inside every rejection's feedback. If you're willing to look past the sting of disappointment, rejection shows you where to improve. It shows you what your approach lacked, what your timing missed, or what your message failed to communicate. The greatest achievers in history understood this. They didn't run from rejection. They studied it. They let it polish them, not punish them. Every no became data, direction, and determination. Think about Thomas Edison. He failed over 1,000 times before inventing the light bulb. When asked how he kept going, he said, "I didn't fail 1,000 times. I just found 1,000 ways that didn't work." That's the mindset of a winner. Someone who sees rejection as part of the process, not the proof of failure. Every time you're rejected, you're being rerouted towards something more aligned with your purpose. The wrong door must close for the right one to appear. The problem is, most people take rejection personally. They attach their self-worth to outcomes. When someone says no, they hear, "You're not good enough." But rejection is rarely about you. It's about fit, timing, or readiness. The person saying no might not see your potential yet. The world might not be ready for your idea yet. But that doesn't mean you stop. It means you prepare, you improve, you evolve until the next yes becomes undeniable. Rejection also builds emotional endurance. It strengthens your ability to stand tall when things don't go your way. It teaches you not to crumble when faced with resistance, because every no builds armor, not to make you harder, but to make you braver. Each rejection desensitizes your fear of hearing it again, and that freedom makes you unstoppable. The more rejection you can handle, the bigger your potential becomes. Because success isn't for the people who never fail, it's for the ones who refuse to stop after failing. Rejection also protects you. It saves you from opportunities that look good but aren't aligned with your growth. Sometimes, what you want isn't what you need. You might be chasing something smaller than your destiny. And rejection, though painful, forces you to pause and realign. It redirects your focus toward something greater, something more fitting to your unique path. Life doesn't close doors to punish you. It closes them to prevent you from settling. You have to understand, every no creates space for a bigger, wise. When one door closes, it's because something better is waiting. Something that matches your growth, your timing, your energy. But you'll never find that next door if you stop knocking. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't is simple. Successful people keep asking, keep knocking, and keep believing that every rejection is just a step closer to the right opportunity. Think about it. Rejection doesn't break you. It shapes you. It humbles you, sharpens you, and strengthens your hunger. It filters out the distractions and forces you to focus on what truly matters. Without rejection, you would never develop the persistence, clarity, or resilience needed to handle success when it finally arrives. Because success demands maturity, and rejection is how life teaches it. When you shift your perspective from rejection being a dead end to it being a redirection, everything changes. You stop fearing no. You start seeking feedback. You start moving forward with faith instead of frustration. You begin to realize that rejection is not a reflection of your value. It's a reflection of your journey's alignment. The universe is not saying, you can't have it. It's saying, not yet, not this way. Keep going. So the next time you hear no, don't shrink, smile, because that no is proof that you're trying, that you're asking, that you're alive in the pursuit of something greater. Every rejection carries the seed of redirection. Every setback hides a setup, and every door that closes pushes you one step closer to the one that was built just for you. When you ask, don't just ask from desire. Ask from value, because the truth is everyone wants something. Everyone desires success, recognition, love, opportunity, and freedom. But the people who actually get what they want are the ones who understand that asking is not about taking. It's about creating exchange. It's about understanding that when you ask, you must also offer something that matters in return. Value is the invisible currency that moves the world, and when you bring value to the table, your ask becomes not a request, but a collaboration. Most people ask from a place of need. They ask with words like, I want, I wish, or I hope. But the most powerful askers speak from contribution. They ask with clarity, confidence, and purpose. Not because they're desperate to receive, but because they understand what they can give. When you ask with value, you shift the energy of the conversation. You turn it from, what can I get, into, how can we both grow? That's when your voice starts to matter. That's when people listen. The truth is, the world doesn't owe you anything. It doesn't reward wishful thinking or entitlement. It rewards initiative, creativity, and reciprocity. Every great opportunity you see, every deal, every partnership, every success story happened because someone understood how to align their ask with another person's goals. They found the bridge where their desire met someone else's need. That's the essence of asking with value. Let's be honest. People are more willing to say yes when they see what's in it for them. Not because they're selfish, but because everyone is trying to move forward. If your ask helps them do that, you'll rarely hear no. That's why the best askers are great observers. They study people, they listen, they understand what others care about, and they frame their requests in a way that supports that vision. When you understand what matters to others, your ask becomes effortless. Asking with value starts with self-awareness. You must know your strengths, your skills, and your unique contribution. What can you offer that others can't? What perspective, energy, or solution do you bring to the table? Once you identify that, your confidence naturally grows. Because now you're not just asking for help. You're offering partnership. You're not begging for an opportunity. You're presenting mutual benefit. That changes everything. Imagine you're asking for a job. Most people focus on what they'll gain: salary, position, benefits. But someone who asks with value will say, "Here's how I can make your company better. Here's how I can solve this problem, improve this system, increase your growth." That's the difference. The first person asks for survival. The second person asks for impact. And the world always responds to impact. When you shift from desire to value, your mindset changes. You stop chasing approval and start building alignment. You stop asking for favors and start creating win opportunities. People can feel the difference. Energy doesn't lie. When your ask is rooted in self-interest, it feels heavy, forced, uncertain. But when it's rooted in contribution, it feels light, confident, and compelling. You're not pulling someone toward your goals. You're walking with them toward a shared one. Here's the secret: value multiplies. The more you give, the more doors open. When people see that your asks are meaningful, helpful, and mutually beneficial, they start saying yes, not just once, but over and over again. You build credibility. You build reputation. You become someone others want to help, because helping you helps them too. That's how leaders rise. That's how trust is built. Think about any successful entrepreneur, artist, or visionary. They all mastered the art of asking, not from need, but from value. They learned how to present ideas that solved real problems, inspired others, or created shared growth. Their success wasn't built on constant asking. It was built on consistent giving through asking. Every great collaboration begins with one powerful question: how can we both win? But this approach requires maturity. It demands emotional intelligence and empathy, the ability to see beyond yourself. When you focus only on what you want, your vision narrows. You become blind to the opportunities that live in collaboration. But when you ask with value, you expand your awareness. You start seeing doors where others see walls. You start building bridges instead of barriers. Because value opens hearts, and hearts open doors. And here's something most people miss. When you bring value into every ask, you stop fearing rejection. Because even if someone says no, you've already given something meaningful: your energy, your insight, your authenticity. Every time you give value, you plant a seed that grows long after the conversation ends. Sometimes, that seed becomes an opportunity later. Sometimes, it becomes a relationship, but it always creates motion. Asking with value also elevates your self-image. When you focus on contribution, you stop feeling like a taker. You start feeling like a creator. You realize that your worth is not defined by what you receive, but by what you bring. That mindset transforms how you walk into rooms, how you speak, how you negotiate. You no longer ask for permission. You offer partnership. That's the difference between pleading and leading. It's not about manipulation or strategy. It's about authenticity. True value comes from genuine intention. People can sense when you're asking just to get ahead. They can also sense when you're asking because you care, because you believe in what you're offering. The first one feels transactional, the second feels transformational, and transformation is what the world responds to. So before you ask for anything, pause and reflect. Ask yourself, what am I giving in return? What will this create beyond my own gain? Because the most powerful asks are never one-sided. They carry weight, purpose, and value. They uplift both sides of the exchange. And when your ask elevates others, it will never be ignored. When you understand this principle, you'll never fear asking again. Because your requests will no longer come from lack. They'll come from abundance. You'll speak not from need, but from contribution. You'll stop chasing approval and start creating alignment. And that's when magic happens. When your words turn into movement, when your ask becomes an opportunity, and when your value becomes your voice. Persistence. It's the invisible force behind every great achievement, every yes after 1,000 no's, every success that seemed impossible until it wasn't. The world rarely gives you what you ask for on the first try. Life tests how much you truly want it. It asks, will you still ask when the door stays shut? Will you still believe when the answer is silence? Most people give up after one rejection, one ignored email, one unanswered call. But those who understand the art of asking know this truth. Persistence is the real question that life asks you in return. When you persist, you prove your belief. You show that your ask isn't a passing desire, but a deep conviction. You turn no into feedback and rejection into redirection. You realize that every obstacle is simply life checking your commitment. Because if your dream can be broken by one rejection, it was never strong enough to begin with. But if you keep showing up again and again, the world starts to notice. Persistence creates momentum, and momentum changes everything. Think about every great inventor, leader, or artist you've ever admired. Behind every success story is a series of unanswered asks. They knocked on doors that stayed closed for years. They wrote letters that were never read. They made offers that went ignored. But they didn't stop. They kept refining, improving, and asking. Not because they were stubborn, but because they understood that persistence isn't about annoying people. It's about aligning timing. Sometimes the world isn't ready to say yes yet. But persistence ensures that when it finally is, you're still there to receive it. The truth is, persistence transforms you before it rewards you. Every time you ask again, every time you face rejection and try once more, you grow stronger. Your confidence expands. Your communication sharpens. Your emotional intelligence deepens. You stop taking no personally and start seeing it as data, as a signpost showing you what to improve. That's the secret most people miss. Persistence isn't just about asking again. It's about asking better each time. Persistence doesn't mean repeating the same thing over and over. It means adapting with intention. You observe what didn't work, adjust your approach, and return with more clarity. Every no becomes a teacher. Every rejection refines your message. You begin to understand patterns, preferences, and timing. You stop being reactive and start being strategic. And one day, you deliver the ask that finally lands. Not because the world suddenly changed, but because you evolved. Imagine standing in front of a locked door. Most people knock once, hear nothing, and walk away. The persistent ones knock twice, then 3 times. If there's still silence, they don't break the door. They find another entrance. They climb through the window, build a new path, or create their own door entirely. That's the power of persistence. It's creative. It's patient. It's resilient. It believes that there's always a way, even when no one else sees it. The greatest doors in life often open the slowest. Success is not a sprint, it's a series of quiet repetitions, of consistent effort when no one is clapping, of courage when you're tired of asking. There will be moments when you feel invisible, unheard, or unworthy. Those are the moments when most people quit. But if you can push through that phase, if you can keep believing when everything says stop, that's when the universe shifts in your favor, because persistence has energy, and energy attracts outcomes. The most powerful asks in life are often met with silence before they're met with success, but persistence fills that silence with strength. Every no echoes louder for those who stop asking, but for the persistent, it fades into background noise. They learn to move with grace through rejection, to keep their heart open and their purpose clear. And when their moment finally arrives, it doesn't feel like luck. It feels like recognition. Persistence also builds reputation. People start noticing your consistency. They see that you don't give up easily, that you're serious about your goals. That earns respect, even from those who once said no. Opportunities often come from those who initially rejected you, but later remembered your determination. The person who was once indifferent becomes curious, then impressed, then supportive. Because persistence doesn't just convince others, it inspires them. In the art of asking, persistence is the paintbrush that fills the canvas with color. The first stroke may not show much, but each layer builds depth, texture, and life. If you stop painting too soon, the picture never reveals itself. But if you keep going, you create something unforgettable. The same is true with asking. Your first request might go unnoticed, but your consistency turns curiosity into opportunity, and opportunity into transformation. The reason persistence is so rare is because it's uncomfortable. It forces you to confront uncertainty. It demands patience when your ego wants results. It asks you to stay humble yet hopeful. But every time you persist, you prove to yourself that your dream is bigger than your discomfort. You remind yourself that your voice matters, even if it hasn't been heard yet. The truth is, life rewards those who keep showing up. When you persist, you shift from chance to certainty. You no longer depend on timing alone. You create timing through effort. And the beautiful thing is, persistence compounds. Every effort builds upon the last. One more call, one more message, one more try. Each act of courage stacks up until the scales finally tip in your favor. And when that yes finally comes, when the door that's been closed for so long finally opens, it feels different. Because it's not just about what you asked for anymore. It's about who you became in the process. Persistence transforms the asker into the achiever. It turns uncertainty into faith, faith into action, and action into result. So, when you ask and hear nothing, don't take it as rejection. Take it as rehearsal. You're being refined for the right moment, for the right yes. Keep asking, keep showing up, keep believing. Because persistence doesn't just get you what you want. It turns you into the person who deserves it. Wisdom in Minutes Audiobooks, reminding you that the most powerful question isn't, "Can I have it?" but, "Can I keep believing until I do?"